Hello and welcome to Not Another Weight Loss Podcast. Today is very exciting because it is the first episode, and this is where I just want to share with you what to expect from these episodes. In particular, I want to share about my 10-second tools series, which are tools to help you create an awesome relationship with food in your body that literally take 10 seconds. I'll also be sharing a little bit about me and my struggle with food and my weight and my qualifications and stuff so that you can kind of get a sense of why you might want to listen to me. I'll also be sharing some exciting things to look forward to in episodes to come. And I'll also tell you how you can engage with me and actually be a collaborative part of this podcast so you can start experiencing amazing results and fun and awesomeness on your food and body freedom journey. At the end, also, I'm going to leave you with your first 10-second tool. So if you want that, then you'll definitely want to stick around to the end. So if all that sounds good, then let's dive in. I'll start with this. After being a coach for almost 20 years now and hundreds of conversations with people about their dreams and their goals, I can tell you there's one common thing that I've found out that tends to be the main thing that holds us back from really going for what we want. And this is for anything, not just our weight loss goals, but it's feeling like we don't have time. It's feeling like we don't have the time or the ability to do what it takes. And I want you to know that I'm not going to be one of those coaches who's like, you don't have time not to do this work, like, I mean, in a way it's like kind of cutesy or whatever, and it might be motivating to some people. But for me, it's like, I just rather believe you. I believe you that you feel like you don't have time and you don't think you can do it. And this is a great lead in for how this podcast was born. And this is kind of the story of how this podcast came to be. So one day I was in line at a grocery store and I'm overhearing this woman. She's in front of me. She's super stressed out. She's on the phone. She's got a toddler in the cart. She's got a 5-year-old next to her. She's putting groceries on the conveyor belt thingy. And she's on the phone and she's like, I've got so much going on right now, but I literally have 10 seconds. Go. And first, I had so much compassion for her. I mean, she really did have 10 seconds, before the cashier was going to be needing to interact with her and stuff. But she took that 10 seconds that she had to take this moment to get on the phone with whoever that was. And so then I had this thought. I'm like, I wonder what would happen if everyone who's struggling with their weight all decided to work on our relationship with food and our body every single day, but only for 10 seconds. And then I realized that this 10-second at a time thing, this is actually something that I've done with myself in so many areas of my life for years and years and years, like literally from high school when I first experienced what I would now call probably depression. It was like my first experience with depression. I just didn't have the name for it then. So I was probably 14 or something. I'm feeling super unmotivated, sad. I'm sitting on the couch. I'm eating snacks, watching TV, just like trying to just zone out, right, as I did. And a part of me, though, was like, I wanted to go for a run. I was really big into running at the time. And but in that moment, I could not get myself up. And it was just one of those moments of feeling the heaviness, like not just of my physical weight and my body, but also just emotional heaviness. It was like this intergalactic glue between my ass and the couch, right? And so in that moment, I got this idea. I decided to play a game with myself. I said to myself, what if you just set a ridiculously small goal, like going outside for 10 seconds, right? Like instead of trying to get myself to go for a run, we're just going to go outside for 10 seconds. And with that small of a goal, it felt so easy, so doable that I got up and I went through the motions of putting on my sneakers and, managed to get my butt outside. And then guess what happened? Once I was out there, I started to walk. And then once I was walking, I decided to play another game. I was like, what if you jog for 10 seconds? And so I did. I started jogging. And then I was like, now let's run for 10 seconds. And I did. And then I just kept walking and jogging and running 10-second intervals each, right? Until I had gone for, I don't know how long it was, but obviously it was much longer than 10 seconds. And honestly, it felt like a miracle. It felt like I had cracked the code on my depression. And for all the years since, I have used this 10-second game with myself for so many things, like from stupid stuff like 10 seconds of putting away the laundry, or, making a scary phone call for a dentist appointment, or, to my insurance company or whatever, right? All the way to big stuff like writing my master's paper or starting my business, just giving myself 10-second goals, doing things 10 seconds at a time. Okay, so fast forward to that day at the grocery store when I overheard that woman with only 10 seconds. And that's when I realized for the first time that my stupid little 10-second game from middle school or however old I was might actually be helpful to other people. And specifically in the realm of my specialty, which is people who struggle with food and overeating, emotional eating, binging, weight loss, all that stuff. So I started experimenting with myself, implementing all the best tools that I've learned over the last 2 decades of being a self-growth junkie when it comes to food and body stuff. And what I discovered after just a week of doing one thing for 10 seconds a day was, holy shit, I feel like a new person. Like this actually does work. And now, to be honest, I've been sitting on this idea of sharing this for years. But the other day, after hearing yet another person say that they felt like they didn't have time to do anything about their weight, it was like the clouds parted and, the sun came through and the angels were singing. There's a spotlight over me. And it was just like, Kendra, it's time to put this out there. So as much as I'm into science and stuff, I'm also a bit woo-woo. So I'm like, I'm not going to argue with the angels or whoever it was that was speaking to me. So I'm like, all right, I'm in. So here we are, 10-second tools, and it couldn't be any simpler. So, and that's why I love this so much, is because it's kind of excuse proof. So each week, I'm going to come on this podcast and I'm going to share with you a 10-second tool. So something that you can listen to in less than 20 minutes. I'm going to try to keep all the episodes less than 20 minutes, and you're going to learn the tool, the prompt, the experiment, the perspective shift, whatever it is that's literally going to take 10 seconds to implement. So you listen to the episode, you implement the tool at some point in your day, and sometimes it might even be during the episode. And then you just watch yourself experience the shifts in your relationship with food and your body. Boom. That's it. So, and what I mean by the word tools, because I know that that's kind of like a coaching therapy term, but what I mean by a tool is like, I'm going to give you some kind of a prompt, a technique, an experiment to play with. It could be anything from easy and fun to deep to sometimes maybe even kind of funny, life expanding, or just something that's just really practical, really just doable as all heck. Because I feel like that's what we really need right now, is just something that's freaking doable, right? So now what I also want to share is what else to look forward to in this podcast. And this is a really cool way for you to be a part of it. And that's with my Q&A series, which will also be sprinkled into the mixed. So I won't just be doing 10-second tools. I'll also be doing episodes where it's just answering your questions. So this is an opportunity to engage with me and co-create this podcast with me by just simply submitting your questions to me and getting a chance for it to be answered right here. So not only will you be getting the support that you need, but you'll also be helping all the other people who probably have the same question. But you are the one that was brave enough to ask it. So for any questions that you want answered, all you got to do is follow me on Facebook or Instagram. And I recommend that you just do that right now because we all know that we forget shit. So just go on Facebook or Instagram and follow me. And then you can send me a DM when you come up with a question, or there's going to be times when I specifically make a post that's saying like, hey, ask your questions about blah, blah, blah. And then you can submit your question there and I'll add it to the mix. So now I want to just briefly share a bit about me and my, quote unquote qualifications, my street cred. So as far as formal education, I have a dual master's in somatic psychology and dance movement therapy and undergraduate work in exercise and health science with an emphasis in personal training and nutrition. And I started as a personal trainer and coach almost 20 years ago. But I gotta say, that was actually during the peak of my struggle. So my struggle being overeating, binge eating, bulimia, compulsive exercise, orthorexia. If you haven't heard of that, that's basically it's an unhealthy obsession with being healthy. And then I also struggled with, some different traumas, anxiety, bouts of depression, OCD. I mean, whatever, lots of things. And I share all of that not to like get pity or something, but just to share with you, just like I want you to get a sense of just how much of a struggle it was for me, because I want people to know that if I can end the struggle, then I honestly believe that anybody can. Because I also realize that some of you might be listening and maybe it's just kind of like a low grade struggle with your weight. Some of you might just struggle with overeating here and there. And some of you might be more like me, where it's been a lifelong struggle, with a daily obsession about how incredibly uncomfortable you feel in your own skin and how out of control you feel with food. And so I just want you to know that wherever you are on that spectrum, this podcast is for you. And I'm so proud of myself in this moment to just even be recording this podcast where I'm actually at the point where I'm helping other people with this stuff, because it at some point was a goal of mine. I was like, I'm going to figure this out and I'm going to help other people. And so it's kind of amazing that I'm here at this point. The other reason why I share personal bits of my story also is because when I was growing up and when I was struggling, we didn't have social media like this where people were a lot more, vulnerable and open and sharing. We just saw, celebrities and fitness gurus and stuff looking skinny and happy and promoting whatever weight loss thing. And so I just thought I was a freak. And so I think it's so healing and so important it would have been so helpful for me to have known that a lot of those people were struggling with the same shit that I have been, that would have been really nice to know. And so I want you to know that you are normal for having all the issues that you have. And we're going to go into that in future episodes, explaining like why you are normal. But I also want you to know that you're in a safe space with me. I've been there and I friggin' get it. So here I am helping people, quote unquote, to lose weight. But, it's so much more than that, because remember, I started doing that in my 20s as a personal trainer. And that's when I was struggling the worst. And what I've realized now is that who cares if you lose the weight if at the end of it, you still have a shitty relationship with food in your body, right? Because that's what happened to me over and over and over again. I'd lose all the weight, I'd get to my goal, but I did it in such a messed up way, restricting and over cardioing and making my life so, so small. And I only made my relationship with food and my body worse during those times, every single time. It could have been Weight Watchers or keto or paleo or, going to a naturopath to give me a protocol to fix my gut or something, all of them sounded really healthy. They all sounded balanced. They sounded like a good idea. But I was so focused on that dangling carrot, that goal number, so focused on it. So like leaning forward towards that carrot that it was like I was leaning out in front of my body. So by the time that I got there to this goal, I still didn't trust myself with food. And I felt even more pressure to maintain everything I was doing so I didn't gain it all back again, which of course I always would, right? Because I didn't have a relationship with my body. I had a relationship with a goal number that I was chasing. I think it was Janine Roth, who, by the way, is an amazing author in this space of eating disorders. So just putting that out there, Janine Roth. I think it was her who said something about how she gained and lost probably over 1,000 pounds in her life. And I mean, personally, I'm not even going to do the math for myself, but yeah, I mean, I've gained and lost 20 pounds, 30 pounds, 50 pounds in my life. And the only time that I ever maintained the weight loss was when I finally started to change my relationship with food, my relationship with eating, my relationship with my body, my nervous system. All of that was actually working on the root issues, because food isn't actually the problem. Food is your solution to a problem. And same with your weight. If you're anything like me, weight wasn't the problem. My weight was a solution to a problem. And that problem was ultimately not feeling safe in a smaller or, quote, more attractive body, more attractive according to the culture that's around me personally, right? And so that's what we're up to in this podcast. We're going to go way beyond the quick fixes and the Band-Aids. We're not doing that shit anymore. And, while I can't help you get to the root specifically in a relationship over the airways, like on a podcast, but the tools and the perspectives that I'm going to share with you will absolutely help you start creating an awesome relationship with food and your body. And that is key. And if you want more support, I've got my Food and Feels membership and coaching program available for you. That's where we really get the training in the nervous system skills that get to the root of the food and weight issues. Nervous system skills that rewire your relationship with food and your body are hands down the most effective, most powerful way to lose weight and keep it off. And keep it off in a way where you're actually having fun and you're enjoying your life and you're being expansive and feeling good in your body. So this truly is not another weight loss podcast, because I'm not going to be telling you what foods you can't eat. I'm not going to tell you how much calories you have for the day. Nope. We're going to focus on your relationship with food, your relationship with your body, your relationship with life. And we're going to get fun, doable things to experiment with that take 10 seconds to implement. Like, no excuses. It's excuse proof. And I'm going to have special experientials on here, like musical guests, where we'll get to get into our body and listen to music and have embodiment experts and artists and gardeners and chefs. And, that's my vision for this, is to have different people with different expertises that can share with us how to get into our body and experience this amazing life and this amazing body, like how to climb back into our body and really live from the inside out and feel freaking awesome and empowered when it comes to nourishing our body with food so we can do all the things and be all the things that we want to be in this way too cool experience of a life. I mean, isn't it crazy that we're here? Like that we get to be here in this life, in this body, on this earth. I mean, what? There's a bird chirping outside my window right now that I'm looking at. Like, I mean, it's just too cool. And so on that note, I'll leave you here with your first 10-second tool. What I want you to do is to just look down at your hand. Or it can be whatever part of your body that you want, but if you have a hand, I think that's a great one to start with. So just look at the backside of your hand. Look at the palm of your hand. Move your fingers around. Take a breath as you're doing that so you can really sense the impact of paying attention to your hand. So you can sense, maybe even touch into the sense of the miracle it is of having a hand. I mean, like, what the, you know? Living in this human body and having these hands and all the things that you can do with this hand. I mean, there's 27 bones and I think over 100 ligaments and 30 or something muscles in there in just one hand. And what you get to do with it, you get to write, you get to draw, you get to open doors and, feed yourself holding a fork. Or if you're like me, you're just using your hands half the time. Or building sandcastles, or shaking hands with someone new, or holding hands with someone you love, or touching your own heart. And actually, let's be dorks and actually do that right now. If it feels good to you, maybe just take one hand and put it over your heart and take a breath. And with that, I hope you will continue to join me on this journey. And actually, while we're on that, please, if you do want to be on this journey, take a moment to actually subscribe to the podcast. So this not only helps get access to each episode to keep you, feeling inspired and creating transformation on this journey for yourself, but it also helps this podcast become more visible to other people who are struggling, which, to be honest, I don't know if there's anyone on the planet who doesn't have some kind of an issue with food and their body. So here are the instructions for Apple Podcast and for Spotify. So if you're on Apple Podcast on your phone, click the 3 dots next to the episode title and click Follow Show. And if you're on Spotify, click on the 3 dots in the upper right and then hit Go to Podcast. And then once you're on that next page, you'll click Follow. And then you'll want to click on the gear symbol and click that toggle to auto download episodes. So this will ensure that you'll get all the new episodes right away, like right into your library, which is awesome because then you can have them on the go and when you don't have Wi-Fi or whatever. All right, so there's those instructions. And again, I'm just so excited to be on this journey with you personally, but also this is you being a part of a movement. I have a vision of a world where more people have broken free from the weight loss industry, from dieting, restricting, from hating their body, so that they can remember the joy and pleasure of food and the joy and pleasure of living in a human body, feeling comfortable in your own skin, and just being, the loving, crazy, creative, weird, wild, awesome badasses that we're all born to be. And showing up to our life showing up to our career as our full self, showing up to our partners as our full self, showing up to our kids and our family and our neighbors, our hobbies. And most of all, this is a movement about more people showing up as their full selves for themselves. I mean, who knows how many lives we get, right? So let's dig into this one while we can. And with that, big love. I'll see you soon.